Hey guys, and welcome to my stimulus package update and stimulus check update. Wow, I haven't said those words in so long. I want you guys to know that I missed you more than you missed me, and I'm happy I'm back here for you with another video just to give you my perspective on everything that's been going on.
Here's how Democrats can sweeten the deal for Senator Joe Manchin to back Biden's big spending bill, the new Build Back Better. And this would be to actually reduce the deficit with this next Build Back Better package. And here's how this would work. So let's say they come up with a bill that's, we'll just say $1.8 trillion here. What they would do is have it be paid for with, say, $2 trillion, okay? So this bill is $1.8 trillion, but the pay-fors for it, large corporations and wealthy individuals, the taxes that come in for that are more than paid for. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, leader of the Democrats in the House, recently said this, that as the package gets a little bit reduced, and if they keep all the pay-fors the same, instead of it being just paid for, it would now actually be more than paid for, and would thereby actually reduce the deficit. Now, honestly, in the big scheme of things, let's not get too excited about this, because the debt is $30 trillion. Former President Donald Trump raised the debt by about $8 trillion in 4 years. Biden's going to probably raise the debt by about $8 trillion in 4 years. So again, I'm not picking on either side. Let's be realistic. That's about how much money it costs to run the government now. The government just doesn't bring in enough tax dollars. It's just kind of how it is. Now, forcing large corporations, remember that out of the Fortune 500 companies, like 10% or more of them on any given year will actually pay $0 in federal tax. Yeah, I know. They'll make billions and billions of dollars and yet pay zero in federal tax. I know you can't make this stuff up, right? So they'll pay nothing, and they're trying to change that. The problem with that is, you have Senator Kyrsten Sinema, a Democrat, who doesn't want to change the corporate tax rates. You have a lot of Republicans who don't want to change the corporate tax rates. So getting those things changed are difficult, to say the least. The problem is when you have corporations who donate to senators, you have a little bit of a conflict of interest there, but nonetheless, this is how politics are. So when you have corporations that are worth billions of dollars and they donate to you and they're like, hey, don't vote to raise the corporate tax rate, and that one vote can change the whole bill, sometimes that strategy works. But nonetheless, we did get the third stimulus check package passed. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema voted for that, but no Republicans. The first stimulus check and the second stimulus check package, both Republicans and Democrats voted for that. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, okay? So even through the thick and the thin, they all did come together here. So it's not like let's be optimistic here. Republicans and Democrats voted together on stimulus package 1, stimulus check 1. Democrats and Republicans voted together on stimulus check 1 or stimulus check 2 together. And Democrats only on stimulus check 3, including Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, voted yes on stimulus check 3, the $1,400, and the child tax credits, including the rent assistance, the mortgage assistance, the utility assistance, the child tax credits, and everything else that was in there, the SNAP assistance, and whatever else I'm forgetting at this particular moment, okay? So we do have support from all those scenarios that I mentioned here. The question is, what can we do going forward, and what can we do with the $800 billion that's already approved from stimulus package 1, 2, and 3, and is leftover money already approved by the House and the Senate and the President's just sitting there, and can fund 2 stimulus checks worth. Okay, and can be sent out here at any given moments at a snap of the fingers, moment's notice. Can it be sent out through an executive order, reappropriated, or anything like that? Anything like that. In fact, the president's actually been criticized for not using executive orders to help the people as much as possible here several times. In fact, just yesterday, AOC, Democratic representative from New York in the House of Representatives, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was telling President Joe Biden to cancel more student loans to have any chance in 2022, and to do this through executive order. Now, canceling student loans isn't a stimulus check, it's a different type of stimulus provision. We have student loans, canceling student loans, we have stimulus checks, we have rent assistance, we have mortgage assistance, we have utility assistance, we have state stimulus checks, we have raising Social Security benefits, we have raising SNAP benefits, which a lot of states are actually doing right now. We have raising pandemic EBT benefits. We have all sorts of different stimulus type benefits. AOC and actually a lot of different Democratic representatives are calling on President Biden to use his executive authority, executive orders, to cancel more student loans right now. And they say he can do this simply through executive order. Representative AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has warned that President Joe Biden should do more on student loan debt cancellation if the Democrats hope to have, quote, any chance in the 2022 midterm elections. You can let me know your thoughts on this. I'm just reporting the news, but let me know your thoughts if you agree with this or disagree with this. AOC, a Democrat who represents New York's 14th congressional district, told the New Yorker in an interview this week that the president's hesitancy on the issue was having a demoralizing effect on a key voting bloc. Her comments come on the Democrats face crucial midterm elections in November, with Republicans aiming to take back the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then to potentially stymie Biden's agenda. Some Democrats include Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders even, have urged Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt per borrower through executive action. In fact, here's the problem that a lot of people struggle with on student loans. I've seen this here. I took a screenshot of it. This guy, Sean McCoy, says here on Twitter, he says, I'm 27 years old. I have $120,000 in debt from an undergraduate degree. I've been paying $970 a month for 5 years. And of that, nearly $60,000 I've paid in that time. So he's paid $60,000 on his student loans in 5 years. And only $2,000 of that has gone towards the loan. Only $2,000 of that has been paid off the principal. So $58,000 of that $60,000 has gone to interest. And only $2,000 of that has gone towards the principal. He says, I ask again, how is this even legal? Hashtag cancel student loan debt. And, I see comments of people saying, you signed up for this. If you signed up for this, you should bear the brunt. I get people's argument on both sides. We paid off my wife's student loans. So, I get people saying, what about the people that paid off their student loans? And we paid off my wife's student loans. But I'm not even mad about things like that. I'm in the camp that any help that people can get, I think that we're in a pandemic, and any help that anybody gets, more power to them. Because there's just so many people in need. You take this story here, there's so many people like this, millions of people like this. They pay on this for decades, and they can't pay it off. And he's paying almost $1,000 a month for 5 years, and he's only paid $2,000 off his principal. How can somebody ever pay this off unless they literally just chunk it off and they have the money. He's got $120,000 in student loans. That's just crazy. And you say that, oh, you knew about this, you signed up for this, but how is this guy going to pay this off? He's 27 years old. So I feel bad for a lot of people like this. It's really tough out there, right? So, let me know your thoughts. And that's why, and I also get the argument that, I'll see this in the comments, and I understand people's arguments, right? Because you could put me on a debate team and I could argue either side of any argument. Put me on a debate team, I'll argue either side, and I'll argue pretty successfully. Here's the problem with the argument of, well, my tax dollars shouldn't pay somebody else's student loan debt, because I understand that argument. The problem with that argument is that when you talk about anybody's tax dollars, all those tax dollars are gone already. Remember, the government runs a substantial debt already. So when you talk about like my tax dollars, for example, my tax dollars are already sucked up and gone. They're all gone, okay? The government is running a substantial debt every year, whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump, Clinton, Bush, anybody, right? There's been very, very, very few years that the government actually didn't run a deficit. There was like 1 year that Clinton said we didn't run a deficit. Clinton had this big hoorah about he balanced the budget, and then after an analysis, they didn't actually balance the budget. It was actually still negative. But it was really close. That was like a huge win for the country. Okay? That just shows you how, and nowadays, in modern years, again, Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit in 4 years. Okay? Biden's going to probably do that too, so I'm not picking sides here. That's $2 trillion a year, just on average here. Okay, so when you think about like my tax dollars going to pay somebody else's debt, whether it's student loans, whether it's stimulus checks, whether it's raising Social Security benefits for seniors, whether it's paying child tax credits, whether it's paying for SNAP benefits for food assistance for people that are starving, whether it's paying for anything, anybody in need, just forget that argument, because all the tax dollars that people pay are already spent. They're already gone. They're literally, the government runs such a deficit. Think about like the government, half the money they take in is, it's kind of hard to explain this, but the government takes in money and by half the year it's spent already. So when we talk about maybe the government giving some extra help to people, don't even worry about that, because that's just kind of like the government's just going to print a little bit extra money and nobody's going to pay for it. Nobody's going to pay for it. So instead of the debt right now being, say, 30 trillion, it'll be 30.1 trillion or 30.2 trillion. And that's where we kind of go back to Joe Manchin here. Joe Manchin says that he'll vote for the bill if it reduces the deficit. Okay, so we'll go back to that point here. And this is where, like, Joe Manchin, like, really, like, does this really make a difference to you? Okay, so we'll make Joe Manchin happy, okay? All right, so we'll reduce the deficit for you, Joe Manchin. All right, so here's how much of a difference this will make, right? Let's just kind of make him happy here. So we'll reduce the deficit. So the Build Back Better package, we'll just go with this, $1.8 trillion, and we'll make the pay for is $2 trillion. So that'll reduce the deficits by $0.2 trillion. Okay, so that would take the $30 trillion deficit down to $29.8 trillion. Does it make a difference at all if the deficit is $30 trillion or $29.8 trillion? No. Remember that the deficit is going up by an average of $2 trillion a year, whether it's Trump or Biden. It doesn't matter. It's skyrocketing. And honestly, it's inflation's not really in the national debt, because remember, it went from 3 trillion in around 1990, it was around 3 or 4 trillion. and it's gone to 30 trillion now. Inflation's just started to go up now because we're coming out of the pandemic, okay? Or out of the recession, I should say. Anytime you come out of a recession or depression, when you're in a recession or a depression, you go down and you have deflation, okay? Inflation is much lower than normal. So you get like, instead of 2.5% inflation, 2.5% inflation, you get like a 0% inflation. Then when you come out, you kind of make up for that inflation. So you get a 5% or 6% inflation. Right now we're at 7.5, okay? So we're a little bit more than normal, but some of that's because of the supply chain issues and stuff. So you could blame it on Biden. That's fine. It really doesn't matter. But if you study inflation coming out of recessions and depressions, it's a somewhat normal thing. If you look back in history, you'll see that. Okay, but remember, even before this inflation issue that we've had only for the last couple months, the national debt was $29 trillion before the inflation issue even happened. Okay, so it is what it is. In 20 more years, the national debt's going to be $60 trillion. There's nothing we can do, or you can do, or I can do about the national debt, whether it's a Republican president or a Democratic president. So if anything, if they're going to add all this money to the debt, they might as well help out people while they're doing it. Remember, they spend $750 billion on the national defense. That's $7.5 trillion a year, and that's going to add to inflation. That's going to be even more. It's going to go up every year, and we kind of need it. We talk about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. We have to do that. All the other programs in the world that go, or in the U.S., it's just what it costs to run the country. It just is what it is, right? So if they're going to spend all this money, they might as well spend money on helping the poor as well, helping people in need. Raising Social Security benefits, child tax credits, helping out children in poverty, helping out people on low income, stimulus checks when needed, right? Does it matter if the national debt, if the number says 29 trillion or 30? Remember, from 1990, it went from 3 or 4 trillion to 30 trillion in 30 years, 31 years, 32 years. In another 30 years, it's going to be 60 trillion. The government prints their own money, so it's not like me or you where you have to pay your own bills. They get to print their own money. So if they're going to print their own money anyways, they might as well do it while helping the people, right? Or would you just have people starve?
Alright guys, this is all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really missed you. Hopefully I'll see you here again very, very soon. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about here in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you all. Please hit the like button on the video, share this video with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already. And click that notifications bell to be notified that whenever I publish new videos for you. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.